Hello, I'm Roger Bisby and I want to guide you through the installation of an Activair air source heat pump. Now this property has been renovated and the entire ground floor is now heated by underfloor heating, and also the insulation levels have been beefed up, so it makes it the ideal candidate for heating with a heat pump. Because heat pumps give a maximum output of 55 degrees centigrade, that makes them the perfect partner for underfloor heating systems. But of course they can also be used to heat radiator systems, provided that you oversize the radiators by 30%. And also of course you can use heat pumps to give you domestic hot water. There are any number of variations, but the consistent thing is you'll find that heat pumps are very easy to fit. In many ways they're no more complicated than fitting a boiler, and in some ways even simpler. So, as I get on with the job, I'll explain a little bit more about how they work and how you can integrate them into your existing system. Okay, so that's the heat pump up on the brackets here with a little bit of help from the cameraman. Thank you very much, sir. The reason we've put it up here rather than on the ground is because the customer wanted to keep this alleyway clear. They didn't want it restricted in any way. It's very handy putting it up here. The brackets, you come as an optional extra. Screw those to the wall. It's important that you remember there's 150 millimeters minimum clearance behind the heat pump to allow the airflow through. So before I start putting the rigid pipework on, what I'm going to do is start off with a couple of flexi connectors, get them the right way round. And the idea of these is that it stops any noise transmission through the pipework. We just got that little bit of isolation there with these two flexis. And then it's on with the auto air valve, and then I'm going on to rigid copper pipe after that. Okay, so that's the pipework pretty much finished, but I just want to show you what I've done on the inside here so you can see how this Activair air source heat pump fits in with this existing system. So let's just have a look what we've got. We've got the flow from the heat pump coming through the wall into a motorised valve. Now all the time the underfloor heating is calling for heat, this motorised valve sends the water from the heat pump down straight in to the underfloor heating circuit. Now the reason I've gone straight into it rather than going through the mixing valve here is because the heat pump temperature can be adjusted so it keeps it nice and cool for the underfloor heating. It won't get too hot, so there's no danger there. It can go straight in. That's all it's serving, is the underfloor heating. Then it goes down. It's got a good flow rate, 22mm pipes through the underfloor heating circuit. When it comes back, there's the return coming there, back through the wall and up to the return on the heat pump. Now, when the underfloor heating isn't calling for heat, the motorised valve switches over, and in this case it says hot water, but it is in actual fact the bypass, and it goes down the bypass straight back into the heat pump. And because the heat pump's got that sensor in the pipework, it knows that the return temperature is coming back too hot, switches the heat pump off. So it's a fully automatic process that we've got here. And over here we've got the boiler flow and return coming in. Because this comes in a lot hotter, the boiler goes through the mixing valve to cool it down to go through the underfloor heating in the normal way. But we don't actually want these two systems running together. So what I've done is I've put a switch over on here, which means that it'll either be the boiler running or the heat pump running. So we can get the absolute optimum performance out of that heat pump running it when the temperature best suits us. And of course what we've got here is an isolating switch for the heat pump outside, and that's got an RCD on it. So the whole thing's safe, and it's also fully automatic. In this system, using a 12 kilowatt Activair heat pump, the underfloor heating circuits are fed from a thermal store or a buffer tank. The advantage of using a buffer tank is that you achieve a constant flow rate through the heat pump, which prevents short cycling. It also allows you to run a number of underfloor heating circuits and domestic hot water from a single thermal store. In our system, we're feeding a single manifold for the ground floor heating system, and the heat pump is a 5 kilowatt model, so it should be well matched to the load. However, where possible, it's better to use a thermal store. Now there are a number of different locations in which you can situate a heat pump, and of course a lot of people don't have available outside walls or gardens. But in this particular location we're going to put this S300 model into the loft. It's almost directly above where the hot water cylinder is, so that's very handy because we're going to use this just to do the domestic hot water. All through the summer, as you probably know, in any loft it can get pretty hot, and that's